Welcome, everybody, to the Weatherboys podcast, episode 2 of season 3, when we are in the new digs where things sound good. We hope they look good, and we hope you're enjoying the new listening experience where there's slightly less technical issues, which we dealt with a lot.
Yeah, and I made fun of you a lot for the whole seasons thing. You know, like what a dumb thing, calling it another season. I like it now.
I didn't actually know you thought it was dumb. I thought.
Oh, we had the whole. Oh, did I not tell you that?
No, I thought you liked it.
Oh, I thought about it a lot. Oh my gosh, no, I thought it was so like ridiculous. But it feels really. It makes now I feel like, oh yeah, like I don't know. I feel like sturdy and strong.
I don't know how I feel about any of this because
this is good.
Because I thought you always loved it. Then you insulted it, but only to back up that insult with a compliment.
With a compliment.
So
yeah.
Now I don't truly know how I feel.
Psychologically manipulative. That's my MO. You never know what you're going to get with this one.
Well, season 3, I explained this last time. We had our pilot season, which was a shortened season, as most pilot seasons are. And then we had our full season, which was season 2. So this is our second full season, but our third actual...
and then an episode. It's good. I like it. See, it makes perfect sense, and it's totally simple, and everybody understands.
But even last week, we talked about it, and you didn't bring any of this up then.
No, you talked about it, and I remember I was thinking, like, what?
Yeah, you did have a weird face when I was talking about it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I said it. Did I not say it? Did I self-censor? I tried. 2025 me is trying not to self-censor. I'm trying to move beyond that. I want you to have my pure self.
This is very funny.
Do I look at you or the camera? Here's a dumb question.
I think
you're right there.
If you're trying to prove a point, you dramatically look at the camera.
Got it.
But
what a pro.
But a lot of our viewers are probably just listening.
Listeners.
Because now that we're on Spotify, people listen to it in their cars.
Gosh, how'd you get a hold of Mrs. Spotify? Was that hard to do?
A lot of connections.
Jeez, man.
There was a ton of, I had to call in a favor from Mr. YouTube.
Mr. YouTube.
Yeah, and then Mr. YouTube was like, you should probably reach out to Mr. iTunes.
Great. Did you have to do anything illegal or immoral?
No, it was all above board.
Yeah?
And Mr. iTunes then said, check in with Mrs. The other one.
Yeah, for sure.
What's the name of it? You know it.
Yeah, Mrs. Reynolds. Mrs. Reynolds rap.
No.
Yeah.
I was setting you up. You could have picked anything.
I picked a thing. Reynolds rap.
Could have gone Chromecast.
Tubi.
Oh, well, that's not really.
Tubi.
There you go.
Yeah,
Mrs. Tubi.
Mrs. Tubi. And then they were all,
Netflix, Hulu. You could have gone with that. There's a lot
of things in it. Reynolds rap. Yeah, Reynolds rap is categorically different.
I was trying to think. There used to be, remember back in the day when podcasts first started coming out, there was like a million different ways to listen to them, and you had to download different ones for different shows.
No, you were in the early days. I don't remember that. No.
There was an orange app that I listened to. It was something Cast. I can't remember it now. I was actually trying to think of it. But anyways, this is
sounds
stupid and boring.
Inappropriate.
So first, before we get to our guest for the day, you feeling good? We're on cloud 9 right now. Today was what do we want to call it? Release day for a new Weatherboys story.
Oh yeah, release day.
Maybe
released. Yeah,
I was trying that out, seeing how it felt. Put it in your mouth, chew it around.
World premiere would also work.
I like a world premiere.
Yeah. Those two. Yeah. Release day of the world premiere of the latest Weatherboys season 3 episode 4. Actually, it's season 3 episode 1.
Yes.
Of the Weatherboys stories. Yeah. Roller derby day, man. Today's derby day. Tell your friends, call your grandma.
So there's a lot of pride that comes along when the story is released.
Yes.
Because there's so much hard work that goes into it. And I'm not saying it's me.
It's not us.
You wrote it, which was a lot of work. Matt edited it for a week.
Yeah.
And then that's also in addition to the shooting day, which included Matt, Doug, and Brian.
Yeah.
3 shooters.
And plus he had 2 extra cameras in it. 5 cameras this guy's sorting through. This maestro of a man, Matthew Phillips, Chad Mannix. Mm-hmm. Gosh, what a guy.
So a lot of pride that comes with it. And then you get to walk around and people tend to like him.
Yeah.
And so you get little like, hey, saw the story, loved it. Or you get a text message, love the story, best one yet. It's a fun day.
It is a fun day. But sometimes you get the things where they're like, where they just mention it, but they don't say anything positive or negative about it. They're just like, oh yeah, I saw the story. And then like you're waiting like little puppy dogs. Because you and I feed on this. Like I'm not saying this is healthy. This
positive
is probably
affirmation.
Yeah,
okay.
You know what I mean? I don't know if
language.
it's a good thing, but that's what we want. And they're like, oh yeah, I saw that story. And you're like, yeah. And they're like, see ya. And I'm like, waiting for more, and there's nothing more.
How about worse yet, when you know they're in the studio? So you know they've been watching it, and they don't say anything.
Oh yeah, you're a sick masochist. You like to go in the studio with other people and watch it. Yeah. I don't do that. I go to my cubby in the weather office by myself.
If there's somebody that was in the studio, saw the story, and then I cross paths with them later, and they're like, "Hey, man," and I'm like, "Hey, how's your day?" "Oh, good. How's yours?" "It's great." And then waiting, and then they just keep walking.
Yeah.
That's
yeah. Well, I will say,
insulting.
I will say, one of our BFFs, Lori Pinson, she said a little something on the TV today, and it was probably just a slip of the tongue. But what she said was, the clip was sent to you. I don't know if you caught it. She said, they kept falling on the ice or something.
Yes.
And I was like, what, ma'am? These were obviously roller skates. That was not ice.
We were at the Masonic Temple.
We need to give people quizzes.
Yeah, we should do that. We should
implement
like a questionnaire on a scale of 1 on a scale of 9 to 10. How much did you enjoy the story?
How much did you pay? Yeah, right. Yeah. One right answer.
So great stuff there. What's exciting about the roller derby story is
when does this come out? They have a game. When
this will come out before their game.
Their game on the Saturday after Valentine's Day, which is also known as February 15th. The Masonic Temple. Go watch them.
We will have Robin Murdoch on the podcast next week.
Okay. I know, yeah.
To discuss her thoughts.
Robin of Knoxley.
On the story.
It's going to be great.
I'm excited to hear what Robin has to say about it because we shot it and then we just kind of left. And we haven't really dug in with her. So I'm excited to hear her thoughts about how we did, how she thought the story turned out.
Oh, for sure. Because, we could take those little sound bites and mishmash them in any way. We could turn for all you guys know, this story is not really what happened.
Yeah.
The magic of editing is, honestly, that's like a sorcerer.
Here you go.
That's a wizard.
Here's an example. She could say, those guys were awful. Good thing they don't come back. We could edit it to, those guys are awfully good.
Yeah, because you sound like her, for sure.
Do you hear that?
I did, yeah. That's exactly what I was talking about.
Okay, so more on Robin next week. So that is next week's episode. This week, our special guest is a very famous guy around the building.
Who's that? Who we got? Who'd you get?
Mr. Hall of Shame himself.
No way. You got Rob
Wolcheck.
Rob.
A legend in this building, a legend in this industry, and he gave us 38 minutes of his time.
What a guy.
To just talk about his career, his thoughts on the industry. His son is now not only in the business at this station.
I watched them say hi to each other the other day. It was beautiful.
Yeah.
They just walked by each other in the hallway and they said, hi.
Hey,
Dad.
Hey, call your mother.
Yeah.
Something like that. So Rob gets into all of that. I had a chance to sit down and talk with him. We wanted Alan here.
Yeah. Was it? You already did it? Wait a minute. You already did the interview with him? I thought we were going to do the interview together.
We already did it.
We did.
Rob and I already did it.
You and Rob did the interview together. You and Rob did the Weatherboys interview.
Yes, you had a commitment.
Just to be clear, you and Rob did the Weatherboys interview.
Yeah.
Together.
He does rag on you a bit in the interview, so now you're going to have to watch.
Did you stand up for me?
No, I let him. I let you have it. I let him do it.
Oh, okay. All right.
Ladies and gentlemen, please enjoy it's a great discussion about how he got to Detroit and how he became the guy that is the Hall of Shame guy.
You guys can also turn it off right now if you don't want to listen to it without me.
Mr. Rob Wolcheck. So you know how to use all this, right? Because you've done DJ work.
I have done DJ work, but I haven't run a control board for a long time.
It's been a second, eh?
Yeah, it's been a long time.
Okay, this is fun.
We had the pots back when I was in radio. You didn't have the slide pots. You had the actual round pots to turn up. You know what I'm talking about.
I have no idea what you're talking about. Wait, sliders. Hold on. Before you go, we have to introduce you. Not that you need any introduction, but Rob Wolcheck, Mr. Hall of Shame himself, is joining us on the Weatherboys podcast.
Oh, I'm so excited.
This is fun for us because we, everybody, Rob's an obvious legend around here, but we don't, our shifts don't always overlap in this business.
That's true.
So it's great to be able to spend some time with you. And so you were talking about, you were a DJ early in your career.
Yes, I started out in broadcasting as a DJ. And we had, back in those days, you had the round pots. You know how you turn the volume up and the channels?
Oh, yeah.
Those things. Pots. They're called pots, or that's what they used to call them, but they were round ones, not the sliders. The sliders, that came in the 80s.
Yeah, so
I was in the 70s, man.
I think this is mine. So if I were to, so you're talking this slide bar where if I'm talking right now, you can't hear. No,
I can't hear you, yeah.
So now we're back up.
Yeah, so we had, so that's how long, you were mentioning, can you run this board? What I have no idea how to run that board. I'm sure I could figure it out, but we didn't have any computerized stuff or anything. And my point is, I'm so old, and it was so long ago. They had turning things. Nobody thought about the sliding.
Is that how your career started, Rob? You began,
yes.
You didn't start in television. You started media on just radio.
I had no intention of ever being a TV reporter. I didn't grow up like Roop and some of these other people who were like, oh, my whole life I watched the news and I wanted to be on it and all that. That was not me. I wanted to be a DJ. I mean, if I had my choice, I'd be a professional baseball player or rock star. Those were my first choices.
What happened there?
Well, I realized that I was not a good enough musician to become a rock star. And then I was not big enough to be a baseball player. I think I was a pretty good baseball player.
The skills were there.
Well, once I moved into the older leagues, I played in a league for like 16 to 22-year-olds, and I was maybe 16 now that I think about it. I was 16. There were only two 16-year-olds in the league, and I was too small. That was what I realized. I mean, I'm 5'10", but at the time I probably weighed, 155 pounds, and I was playing with, guys that were going on to the pro baseball players. So they were big, giant dudes.
You're legit. This is legit, though. This isn't like, I was like teasing you, thinking that you just played Sandlot baseball and you wanted to be a professional player.
I was a pretty good baseball player. I was a high school star. I was pretty good, but I was just too small. Once you realize, when you get to that next level, you kind of realize, I'm playing with guys in college baseball, and I'm 16, and I'm, a flyweight, really, because you're playing with guys that are 6'2" and giant muscles, and so I just kind of realized I'm too small to play professional baseball, no matter how great I am.
So then the radio station, there it goes. I mean, then that's how Rob Wolcheck becomes Rob Wolcheck.
So then I went to college. And while I was in college, there's Jay Towers.
Jay Towers is here. Jay, I'm so sorry, Jay. I thought you were gone for the day.
I'm not, but it's okay.
I apologize. You want me to get the heck out of your space?
No.
Are you sure?
Keep doing what you're doing.
Okay.
Are you able to keep doing what you're doing?
Yes.
He was looking through the window going, why are these guys in my studio?
There was.
I love Rob Wolcheck.
Yeah, I love Jay. Jay, somewhere I have tapes of you and me back in the old days, and they're super funny. They're super duper funny. So mine disappeared off my phone, but I think I have them saved on a hard drive somewhere.
I did for a second, Jay. I was like, this is interesting that Jay left all of his stuff here. He must be coming back later today. I didn't realize you were still here, but I should have thought, Jay, nobody works harder than Jay Towers.
Yeah, nobody works longer than Jay Towers.
He's always here.
Yeah.
Okay, so Rob, you're going, your career, baseball is not working out.
Yeah, so I went to college, and then I was in college. I went to San Diego State, and I didn't like it. And then I went to... went to a community college for a while, and then my big brother, who's since passed away, long time ago, I mean, it's 1977, 78, said, gee, you always wanted to be on the radio, didn't you? Why don't you go to this broadcasting school? Because they were advertising this broadcasting school at a radio station in Los Angeles, and I ended up going to the broadcasting school, and then I ended up being a DJ at, I got my first job at Crazy Country, 1280 Crazy. Playing country music in Farmington, New Mexico. So a place I had never heard of, a place I had never been. And, back then, you couldn't Google and see photos of it or anything like that. And remember, I'm a kid growing up in Los Angeles. So I had never been to anywhere, small town. I had never been to, some podunky place in New Mexico, and so I went to this little town and I became a country DJ, and I was a terrible country DJ. I was really, really bad. I didn't know country music at all. I was absolutely terrible, and I got there, and everybody was mean to me because they knew I was so terrible I was going to get fired, so nobody was really friendly to me. All the other DJs were not very nice, and so I was doomed, and literally at the end of the first week, the program director pulled me in and said, listen, I know you just moved here and you dropped out of college and you came here for this job and you've moved 1,000 miles away, but you got to get better or I'm going to have to let you go. You're terrible, and I didn't know country music at all.
Did he offer you any advice on how to get better?
They offered me advice, but I didn't know the music at all. So I was playing, I honest to God, I never listened to country music. I was into Ted Nugent and Aerosmith and, stuff that 17, 18, 19-year-old kids listened to in the 70s.
So you got to fake it at that point, right?
But it's really hard to fake it because you're playing records. I mean, you're playing, 45s, and you're picking it up and you're seeing, whatever, Merle Haggard. I don't know who Merle Haggard is. I might have heard the name, but I don't know he's from Bakersfield and he's a great songwriter and a good singer and all that. I'm just like, and you're looking at the record. Let's pretend this is a record, and you're looking at it and you got to put it on. And the songs are short too, because they're like 2 minutes and 30 seconds back in 1978,
Old
country
school.
music. Yeah. So it's like, this guy's name, Merle Haggard, Merle Haggard. Man, and so then I'd be like, hey, 1280 Crazy Country, here's Merle Haggard. And then they'd be like, this guy is a knucklehead. He doesn't even know who Merle Haggard is. I mean, I literally said Patsy Cline died in like 1962. And I was playing a record by Patsy Cline. This is 1978. I'm playing a record by Patsy Cline, and I had noticed, whoever this Patsy Cline is, she's really good. I didn't know who she was. I didn't know she had died 15 years earlier. So I said something on the air like, man, I can't wait till that Patsy Cline comes out with some more records. I really like her songs.
It's going to be a long time.
Yeah, thinking I was being conversational, and, instantly the phones light up and there's truck drivers calling, yeah, this kid ain't no shit. Can I say shit?
Sure, yeah.
Okay, all right. So I just said it. This kid don't know shit, and I didn't, so I was terrible. But what ended up happening was then the station also had Crazy FM, which was the top 40 station. So we were playing all these different things. And even though I was a terrible country DJ, I managed to get a little bit better so that I didn't get fired. And I was there for about 3 months. And one day, the afternoon drive guy from the rock station, the pop station, I played Village People back then. And, Macho Man was a legitimate hit then. That's how long ago this was. And they played everything. They played, Bee Gees and anyways. So I filled in for the afternoon drive guy, and they were kind of, and as soon as I got in there, I remember the first song I played was Rick James, You and I, which was, and that was just your top of the hour. So it was, 96 FM, KRAZ, here's Rick, KRIZ Farmington, because you have to give your top of the hour ID, and then Farmington, and then here comes Rick James. And then the next song came on, and it was Hot Blooded by Foreigner. And that's when I got to do my intro. And so instead of these country music songs where I was playing, and 1280, Crazy Country, here's Merle Haggard, I had 16 seconds of walk up to the vocals. And it was Hot Blooded. So it was boom, 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 boom,
You
boom,
knew
boom,
it,
boom,
yes.
bam, 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 bam. And so I was like, immediately I went into, DJ mode, and I was, 96 KRAZ, rocking and rolling with you. Here comes, Foreigner, and I'm hot blooded. Well, I'm hot blooded. And so
You'd hit the goalpost every time.
literally people were coming in going, who is that? Because I was so terrible on the country station. As soon as I got in there and playing the pop songs, I was pretty good. And so then I became a DJ, and I was pretty good. And they immediately moved me into the night shift at the FM radio station. And I was playing, Hot Blooded and Fleetwood Mac and all the songs of those days.
And then that took you from, that was New Mexico, but then back to California.
Yeah, well then you have to move yourself. It's just like TV or baseball. You start in the minors, so I'm in this podunky town in northwest New Mexico. And I kind of became a star there, and I was there for a couple of years, and then I went to Santa Fe, and then I went to Albuquerque, and then I went to L.A., and I was in my early 20s, and I thought, I'm going to be a big L.A. DJ. I'm ready to be a big L.A. DJ, and I went there, and they basically laughed me out of the Los Angeles stations because I was, 23, 24 years old. I had 4 or 5 years experience, but that was nothing. It was like, yeah, you got to have 10 years experience. And I'm like, well, I'm 23. I was 13 10 years ago. So anyway, so I eventually started working in radio, and then I started working in nightclubs, and then I got, then I started working at LA radio stations doing traffic, and then I was doing sports radio, and then I was doing news. I was just kind of did everything, and I went back to college and all of that. So
Yeah. So where does the jump to TV happen?
Okay, so in 1989, I was. So let me put it this way: when you're 24 years old and you're a radio DJ, it's the greatest job in the world. I mean, I was in Los Angeles and I was working, and I was on the radio and I was going out to nightclubs at night and all of this, and it was great. I was 24. I was chasing girls and having a great time and partying and having the time of my life.
Well, you're doing what you're supposed to do
when I was 24.
Sure.
Then I got to be like 29, and I was still doing the same thing. And I was like, man, this is terrible. I hate it. I'm too old to be doing this. I'm burned out. I don't want to, I kind of want to settle down and get married and be a normal person and all of that. So I was like, well, what can I do? What am I going to do? I've only made a living in my life by entertaining people and talking. And so then I became, and so I was, a friend had a internship at a TV station, and I had interned in college at KTTV in Los Angeles, like 1984 or something like that. But, I was, nothing came of it. I thought I wanted to be a weather guy, to be honest. That's what I was, a weather intern.
We've got a lot to talk about there.
Yeah, I was a weather intern. Well, I never really learned any of the meteorology
Yeah,
stuff.
You're fired. You're immediately fired.
Yeah, no, I
can't even say the word.
I looked at it as, well, maybe I could do this. It seems like a knucklehead job. You just stand there. Well,
gee, thanks, Rob.
Well, also weather guy in Los Angeles. This is a pretty easy gig. Hey, hi, today's going to be 78, going down to 62 tonight. Watch out for some early morning fog.
You're giving away too much.
Yeah,
that was. Stop stealing our jobs.
Yeah,
okay?
in Los Angeles, there's not much weather, so it's really like a personality job. Not that being a weatherman, this is a lot harder market. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, no, yeah, I know. The Dallas Raines, was he was San Diego or was he LA?
I don't know
but
who
he
that
was
is.
famous, but all personality
Dallas
guy.
Raines?
Dallas Raines, yeah.
Yeah, no, they had like
West Coast
Fritz
guy.
Coleman was on Channel 4, and he was a comedian. He was like a bad stand-up. I used to go see his stand-up. Anyways, the weather thing was, but I was with a guy named Bill Smith. He was a weatherman at KTTV in whatever it was, 83, 84. And he was super cool, really nice guy to me and everything. But it didn't really click, and I didn't really see a future in it. And then, so anyway, so it's 1989, and I have a friend who's got this internship program at this TV station studio type thing in Los Angeles. And I had broken up with a girlfriend, and I had always been telling her, yeah, I need to go down and do this internship. Maybe I could be like a TV reporter or something like this. And this went on for, all of 88. And I had this girlfriend, and I was always kind of telling her my dreams, like, oh, I'm going to be on TV. Maybe I'll be a TV reporter and this, that. But I never did anything about it. And then we broke up. And on my 30th birthday, which would have been March of 1989, she called me. We had broke up like a few months before, but we were still friendly. And she called me up and she said, oh, happy birthday. Did you ever contact your friend at the TV station for that internship program? And I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm going to get around to it and this and that. She goes, no, do it right now. Do it right now and call me back. So go do it. Call him right now and call me back. And I was
Incredible.
like, nah, I'll do it later and this, then. She's like, oh, no, if you want to talk to me. And so I listened to her. I called her and I went to do the internship. And then I called her back. I said, all right, I did it. I signed up. I'm supposed to go down there on Thursday and this, that. And then I got into the TV thing, and I didn't really know what I wanted to do. But as soon as I started doing reporter type stuff, because they had a little news show, and I did some audio and that type of stuff. And then I did I started doing reporting, and it just was super easy to me. I was just good at it. And
you could view a situation and understand how to get it down to 90 seconds, because that's the hard part about reporting, right?
Well, I'm just a good storyteller, and I quickly understood, okay, so here's your sound bites. Here's your best soundbite. The house caught on fire and we were scared, right? And then you say, that's right, the early morning blaze broke out here at such and such. And I've always been kind of a wordsmith. I was always a really good writer. I was a smart kid, and I got really good grades and stuff. But
that is a specific skill that people don't understand about crafting a news piece.
Yeah,
is you're showing up somewhere you have a general idea of what happened, but you don't really know all the details. And then you need to get the sound bites, and you need to tell the story, the who, what, where, when, and why.
Right.
In anywhere between 90 seconds and 120 seconds. That's all you have.
Yeah, and you're piecing together the sound bites. So you have your sound bites. Oh, we woke up and we were scared, and there's flames coming through the windows. And then later you got the little kid, and the kid says, Daddy carried me down the stairs, and there was smoke on my eyes are still burning, right? So you want to craft, okay, how do I get from the dad and information about the fire to the little kid, and especially, it was especially frightening for little Billy. And then you kind of play Billy's bite. And so I just understood that really quickly, and it became really easy for me. And I kind of watched all the other interns struggling with it. I'm like, this is super easy, and immediately, literally the first time I did a package, everybody there was saying, oh man, you're so good. You're really good at this. And so I was kind of like, well, I guess this is what I'm going to do. And that's how I did it. And then, of course, I went to small markets and worked my way up. Just like I said, minor league, you go to single A down to double A to triple A, and until I finally ended up being the man, my lifelong dream, to work here in Detroit, Michigan.
Well, but that is what you've been known for now, right? I mean, your career has taken you from reporting, investigative reporting, but now you're the Hall of Shame guy.
Yes.
I mean, when you go out, people go, oh.
Yes, they do.
Everywhere you go.
Yes, they do.
You can't go to a Kroger or a Meijer, anywhere.
Well, people are nice, but yes, they do like to yell Hall of Shame at me.
When did that start? When did the franchise?
Okay.
When did the franchise begin?
Well, the franchise was here before I got here. So I was kind of doing investigative stuff in Fresno, California at the CBS affiliate in TV. And Lucy Nolan, who I worked with, she was the main anchor along with a guy named John Wallace at this CBS station. And I was doing investigative stuff, and Lucy thought I was really talented and really good. And of course, Lucy was a tremendous talent, beautiful.
People still talk about her.
Yeah, she was a beautiful woman and, really great on the air. And I remember, before you go on, I'd listen to her voice in my earphone, in my earpiece, and just be like, gosh, what a great delivery. She's so good. And so anyway, so she was a fan of mine. And of course, having somebody who's super talented be a fan of yours is a good thing. And so she said, wherever I go after this, I'm taking you with me. And so I just assumed she was going to go to San Francisco or Los Angeles because that's where I wanted to go. And then she ended up getting a job here at Fox 2 in Detroit. And she said, I took a job at Fox 2 in Detroit, and I was like, I don't want to go to Detroit. I don't even know anybody in Detroit. I had been to Detroit one time in my life when I was about an 8-year-old kid to visit my sister who is passing through town. Anyways, long story. I had never been here, and so then Lucy came here, and she told me, oh, this guy's going to love you. And so she put together a tape of my stuff to play for the news director here at Fox 2, Neil Goldstein. And then he called me a few days later. And
what year is this?
This was 97. So 97. And so I was, Scotty, my little, Scotty, who's now on the air here.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later.
He was my son. He is my son, and he was my son, and he was I guess 4 at the time, and so he was a little boy, and so you have children, so I was actually sleeping in his room because he had come in the middle of the night, and gotten into bed, and how kids are, they kick, and you finally go, oh, hell with this, I'm going to go sleep in his bed where I can get some peace and quiet. So I had my wife comes in at 6 o'clock in the morning, which is early, and she says, there's a guy on the phone from Detroit, some news director. Right? And I was like, huh? What? And so I'm like, oh. So I go and I answer the phone, and it's this Neil Goldstein guy from Fox 2. He was the news director, and he's like, oh, hey, I got your tape. It's fantastic. And, when can you get out here? I really love you, and all this kind of stuff. And first off, it's 6 o'clock in the morning, and secondly, I was thinking, well, I don't want to go to Detroit. I don't know anything about Detroit.
This was not the phone call for you. This was a phone call.
Yeah, unlike you who grew up here, and a lot of the people, this is their home market. My home market was Los Angeles. I wanted to go to Los Angeles. That's where my parents lived. And so so I take the phone and I'm not very nice to the guy. I'm like, yeah, right. And he's like, oh, hey, I got your tape and, it's really great and you're fantastic and all this. I got this Hall of Shame thing and we think you'd be perfect for it and all this kind of stuff that's in your face. And I was like, yeah, man, it's 6 o'clock in the morning here. This is, West Coast time. What are you, a knucklehead? And I literally said to him, look, man, can you call me back at like a decent hour? It's 6 o'clock in the morning. I don't want to talk about this. And I hung up on the guy. And then I went and got into my bed, the main bed, the master bedroom, whatever you call it, with my wife. And my wife I can feel her looking at me, and Scotty's sleeping in the middle. And I can see her. And I'm like, what? And she's like, oh, well, isn't Detroit a top 10 market? And I'm like, yeah. And she said, well, you were kind of rude to that guy.
Shouldn't you take that phone call?
Yeah, you were kind of rude to the guy. I said, I don't want to work for that guy. If the guy's waking me up, I don't even work for him yet, and he's waking me up. I'm not, and so anyway, so then I kind of laid there and thought, well, I guess I better call the guy. And so I called him, and that's how I ended up coming out here.
And when you came out here, the investigative team was bigger than it is now. I mean, you had Scott Lewis,
and Bill Gallagher,
oh, yeah.
and they had a girl named Katie Trexler they had hired, and Scott, of course. Once I saw Scott Lewis, I was super impressed. I mean, I love Scott. He was my guy I looked up to when I first came here, and Scott and I became fantastic friends, and I think we were really good for each other. Scott was, real hard ass, I'm Scott Lewis with that big voice. And he was a real hard ass guy, no fun. And I was kind of fun, and even though I was doing investigative stuff, it was kind of fun. When I was messing with the bad guys, it was kind of fun. And I'd make a little joke like, hey, where's he going to? And that kind of stuff, narration stuff, play by play. And Scott, so we were a great team together, even though we didn't work together on the same stories. We were a fantastic team together because he needed to loosen up a little bit and I needed to get a little more serious. So I would do something that was real off the wall, and Scott would say to me, hey, maybe you shouldn't be doing that, Rob. I think that's a little bit over the top. And I'd be like, oh, F you, come on, man, and this and that. And
lighten up.
But then it was like, he's Scott Lewis. I really admire the guy and I love the guy. And so I would kind of,
you took some of it in.
I would pull it back, and then I'd tell Scott. Scott would say, and now take a look at this. Now, he's doing, and I'd be like, the guy's got a pie in his face. You need to say something funny about that. You've got to acknowledge that. Say, this guy's got an egg on his face or something. And of course, with Scott's great delivery, so we worked together. We made each other better, and we were really good.
And then, but you're the Hall of Shame, the classic Rob Wolcheck. Was that from the beginning, or did you develop into that?
Well, it was the first couple of stories. You got to understand, back then too, that news director, that Neil Goldstein guy, he was kind of off the wall. Like he liked. I mean, I hate to say it, but he kind of liked TNA stuff. He liked pretty girls in your story. Like when I first came here, I was kind of doing a lot of typical consumer things where it was like people picking on senior citizens and stuff. And he's like, I don't want old people on the air. And remember, this is a different time. It's 25 years ago or 27 years ago, whatever it was. And he's like, I don't want old people on the air. I want young people. And I'm like, okay, well, young people don't really. So it was just kind of a different thing. He looked at it in a different way. He was looking at it from a rating standpoint. So he wanted ratings. And so I had to adapt to doing kind of consumer things, but also getting really high ratings. So, instead of doing Granny got ripped off by a contractor, I was not, they wanted, I mean, honestly, the first story that I did that was kind of that the boss liked was a stripper who had her life insurance policy canceled because they said her job was too dangerous. And I almost brought that story up as a joke. And then Neil was like, yeah, that's the story. That's it. Right. And so that was the story. And I kind of, did like a stand up where I was sitting in the strip club and looking up at and there was just like it was shot, where there's just a pair of legs, with high heels
I
and
can see it.
fishnet stockings on, and I'm there like I'm like, well, what's so dangerous about this job? And then the girl throws a stocking or a bra or something on my head. It's all staged, of course, for a stand-up. Not like I hung out at strip clubs because I never have done that. Don't get me wrong. But, it was, and she threw the bra on my head. And I'm like, well, I guess she could catch a cold. So it was kind of,
yes,
but he loved that. So then I was like, okay, so this is the direction they want me to go in. So, and then the Hall of Shame, the Hall of Shame thing was purely they were coming up. I'm not making this up, Derek. They were coming up with like these, we got to have a catchphrase for you. We got to have a catchphrase for you. And so, so they were coming up with all these stupid phrases. Like they had a department here, the promo department. They were coming up with these things like, I'm Rob Wolcheck and I will check on it for you. I mean, that's seriously one of the things that they had come up with. I'm like, yeah, that's lame. I'm not going to say that,
It's not bad.
Yeah, it's kind of.
It's not good.
Yeah.
Not bad, though.
But they were all kind of lame like that. But, so I was like, yeah, I don't want to do that. I don't do that. And you have to remember another thing about me even getting this job. For me, it was a 3-year gig. I'm coming to Detroit. I'm going to be in market 8 or 9, whatever we were then. And then I'll work my 3 years here, and then I'll go back to Los Angeles or San Francisco.
Splash.
Or New York, only New York, just because that's the number one market. And
they called.
They did, yes, they
and
liked me.
you said, I stand.
Well, so I'll get to that.
Okay.
I'll get to that.
All right.
So anyway, so then I made a mark as the way the Hall of Shame thing came up. So they wanted me to pitch. They wanted me to have a catchphrase, and so we didn't really come up with any catchphrase, and so I was in there doing a closing stand up, and Neil and my producer were sitting there saying, you need to sell it. You need to sell it, and that's right. That's why, Derek Kevra, you're in the Hall of Shame, and they were like, no, sell it.
Yeah.
So almost
sexy.
as a joke, I said, you're in the Hall of Shame. And they were like, yeah, that's it. And then I did it. And as soon as I did it, it caught on, and it's stupid and lame, but people love it.
It's not stupid nor lame.
Well, it is stupid and
memorable.
lame, but it's memorable, and that's what it is. And so whatever, it's just like Steve Martin with, excuse me. I'm sure, people still say that to him or whatever. That's before your time.
No, I know that. But that has become a thing. I mean, you're a noticeable figure. You go around town, people say that to you. I mean, do you get scared because you busted a lot of bad guys?
Yeah, I've had some negative experiences, but most of my experiences have been great. So getting on to like New York and San Francisco and Los Angeles, I have had opportunities to go to those places. I have interviewed for jobs at the places where I thought I would go. However, and I was full on going to go to New York. I actually had flown out and done some stories for them actually out there. But what ended up happening was I realized I'm super popular here. They let me do my thing. I really like the management here. We have a lot of really talented people here. And so, and I had another baby while I was out here, my son Jack, who's now 25. And, so we had a baby, and Scotty was getting used to being in school. And, I didn't like the weather, but I was like, man, I'm pretty popular. People love me. And so when I went and interviewed for these other jobs, I always ended up saying, you know what, I got a good thing going here, and they don't tell me what to do, and they let me do my thing, and people seem to love me, and I kind of fit in here. I think Midwestern people and Detroit people like me because I'm kind of in your face. I'm kind of fearless, and I've got like
honest.
I'm not like a super dapper, in Los Angeles or something, I would probably have to be all prettied out and everything.
Get
Here
implants.
I'm kind of, put my sunglasses on as a goofy hat, go bust a bad guy and all that. So it just worked here. So I just ended up staying here. And I never dreamed I would stay here for as long as I did, but I love it here. People have been great to me here.
Well, busting bad guys has become your thing. And I know you got to go do it soon. I'm keeping you from doing that.
Tomorrow.
But,
I'm busting a guy tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
I got to do prep work, though. Can
you talk about some of the stuff that's happened when you bust these bad guys? Because bad guys are bad guys, and like you catch them, and maybe they get maybe they go to jail, maybe they get a fine, maybe they get something. But do you ever worry about retaliation, that they're going to come for you because you're the face of it to them?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I do. I don't usually talk about that, though. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah, okay.
I've had some real bad experiences. Obviously, I've had bad experiences over the years. I'm busting bad guys. I mean, I'm guessing probably 600 at this point, maybe 600 or 700. And, they're bad guys. There's a bunch of them in state prison right now. You saw at the end of the year last year, I had 9 people that ended up going to prison. Kind of from my stories. Certainly,
it's their own actions, though.
It's their own actions.
Yeah,
it's not my fault.
Of course.
But yeah. But I mean, I guess I'm happy that for the victims they get some justice in this and that. But yeah, I'm dealing with bad characters. So yeah, there's been some negative experiences, but I don't really talk about that. I mean, for the most part, people are super wonderful to me. I mean, people are really nice to me.
Let's talk about something fun. Your son,
yes,
works here.
Yes.
Some viewers, they'll watch Fox 2 and they'll go, Scott Wolcheck. I wonder if he's related to Rob Wolcheck. And then you hear him talking, right away.
I don't think there's too many people that don't think we're related.
Yeah. So as a dad, I mean, that's super. You must be super proud of that. And he's a very talented reporter.
He really is a very talented reporter. So, when Scotty was a kid, when he was in high school, I remember listening to him. He'd be down in the basement practicing giving speeches and stuff. And I'm not one of those dad that thinks their kids are, the greatest. Like I'd watch Scotty play sports and things. I'd be like, what the hell is this kid doing? And same thing with my other kid. I mean, so I'm not.
Jack's good at basketball.
Yeah,
Don't
Jack
you
is,
say that?
Jack
yeah,
is
I
good
played
at,
with him.
No. But I'm not one of those dads that thinks, oh, my kid is so great and my kid's the best and all of that kind of stuff. But I remember listening to him practicing speeches down in the basement and listening and thinking, God, he wrote that? That's really good. And he's got a really good delivery. And so I always was impressed with his talents. And then he decided he wanted to be a TV reporter. So he went to college and got his degree at Oakland, and he became the editor of the college newspaper at Oakland University. And
is that, though, that must be tough for Scott, because you are Rob Wolcheck, Hall of Shame guy on Fox 2 News. He is, I mean, I don't want to say in your shadow, but for him to carve his own path, it's a difficult thing.
Yeah, no, I both of my kids, they're the ones that were the ones that were more annoyed by me. We'd be leaving a Pistons game and there'd be fans yelling, hey, Hall of Shame, and they'd be like, oh my God, geez, shut up. But yeah, so that was probably hard for Scotty, but Scotty had the talent to back it up, so he got out of college and he got his first job at WB50 or whatever, one of these smaller affiliate stations out here doing kind of street. If he was the street reporter, Street View or something, it was basically internet based. And then he went to Lansing and worked for a year or two, and then he worked in Flint, Saginaw market, and then he came here. And when he got the job here, so he was working for a PR company, and when he went to, so I always thought he was a really good reporter, but he got burned out in Saginaw, and then he got into the PR business, and he really liked the PR business, but there was a part of me that was kind of like, I'm glad you're happy, but I kind of liked you being a reporter. I thought you were really good at it.
And you knew he liked it too. I mean, I knew him. I knew him in Flint. His path and my path crossed, and then I knew he did PR. And he came to the station. It was one Saturday morning, and you could just tell by looking at him, because he's looking at the set, and you knew he wanted back in.
The thing is that us Wolchecks, really, we have nothing but our talent. I mean, that's it. I mean, my success really is kind of God-given. I mean, not that I don't work hard and not that I don't, do a lot of research and try to be my best and put a lot into it, but I'm pretty talented.
You are talented, but you do work hard. Because
yes, of course.
You're one of the few old school reporters that will sit with an editor.
Oh, and
you'll have your pieces edited. So for people at home that don't know, nowadays, I mean, everybody's rushing from thing to thing. You write your script, you leave it with an editor, you go. But I see you sitting in there with them.
No, I'm a real hands-on guy. I have a really good eye for entertainment value. You know, I can watch a piece and I can be like, you know what, it feels kind of draggy here. We need to change it. Or I need to shorten that bite. And the editors, some of them don't like working with me because I'm, you know, kind of picky.
Yeah. Well, and you like I know you told me this one time. You like, if, for example, you're busting a bad guy, you've got documents. You like the documents to come on in a certain way, stay on for a certain length of time, and then fly off the screen. Or...
There's an art to it. You know, I mean, there's an art to it. Just like when I started out, I was just kind of good at the art of, okay, this is good. You know, this isn't good. You know, this guy is boring. So I don't know. So yeah, so Scotty has the talent, and so it's cool working here with him.
All right, let's wrap it up with this because we've already gone long, but it's been fantastic.
No, I'm super yacky. Yeah.
No, that's good. Scott has talked about this on air, so I'm not saying anything that I don't think he would care. But you are a grandpa.
Yes, I am.
You're a Grandpa Wolcheck.
Yes, I am.
What's
grandpa.
that like?
It's cool. I'll be honest with you. I'm kind of still getting used to it. I'm 65, and it's weird. Like my wife will say things like, you know, "Oh, come here, Grandpa, help me out," and I kind of like looking at her like, what do you call me Grandpa for? But anyways, so it's you know, it's different. I mean, it's cool. I love little Rowan's adorable. He's a beautiful child, and you know, he looks like Scotty did as a baby, and you know, it's great. It's really cool being a grandpa, but it's weird for me because I don't know. I guess I think I'm younger than I feel. I interviewed a guy recently who was talking about his grandchildren, and I'm looking at the guy, and I'm like thinking, this guy doesn't look very old. He doesn't look like he could have grandchildren. So I said to him, I said, man, you don't look old enough to be a grandfather. He says, oh, I'm plenty old. I got 4 grandkids. And I said, well, how old are you? And he said he was 44. And I was like, 44? I feel weird being called grandpa, and I'm 65. So, you know, whatever. It's just different, I guess. But yeah, it's super cool.
Yeah,
and Scotty's a great dad too. Scotty's a really good dad. He's a really good reporter. Both my kids turned out good. I got really good kids. I'm lucky. I mean, well, you're a parent, so you haven't gone through the you know, actually having them grow up part yet, but that's hard. But yeah, they're both really good kids.
You're going to play basketball with Rowan when he gets old enough to do so?
Him I could play with.
Because Rob is a pretty good basketball player.
Yeah, you are a good basketball player. I'm an old man that can shoot a little bit. I'm not. Basketball was my worst sport. I was good at I was really good at baseball. I was pretty good at football. Basketball, I was not very good at.
Disagree. I've played with you. You're very fundamental.
Yeah.
All right, Rob, we're going to let you go. Thank you for joining us here on the Weatherboys podcast.
All right. Well, thank you, Derek, and thank you, Alan. Oh, where is Alan?
Yeah, where is that guy?
Yeah, he said he was going to be here, too. He told me yesterday he'd be here, and he's not.
He's probably he needs a haircut. He's probably getting a haircut.
He's a bum, man.
I don't know if that's a lie, but I would take that as a compliment.
Yeah, well, Rob calls a lot of his friends bums.
I've decided in 2025 I've decided to take anything said about me and put it through a compliment filter.
Oh,
because what does it matter what someone actually thinks? It only matters what I perceive.
Where does one purchase a compliment filter?
Right up here,
right in the brain.
What you viewers can't hear, listeners. I'm tacking my brain right now.
He is
clapping it with my finger, my right index finger.
Did it hurt when you did that?
A little bit.
I heard a real like hollow ding when you were tapping your forehead.
Well, yeah. There's a lot of there's a lot of
Bong.
processor chips in there.
Well, that was really nice of Rob to join us.
He's great. He's fantastic. You did wonderful. It was good. I just like being with my friends.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah, and we were grateful for him to give us a time, as we are with all of our guests. And next week's guest is going to be Robin Murdoch, but we have a lot of guests lined up over the course of this season of the Weatherboys podcast, including, and this one's exciting, is one of the biggest names in the world of weather.
Yeah.
He's a doctor, a doctorate of weather.
Sure.
And he's going to come talk to us, so we need to make sure we don't look dumb.
He invented weather, I think, right?
He did.
He invented weather. Yeah.
He's one of the co-creators of weather. Yes.
I actually do feel a little anxious about this one.
You're going to bring up some old like equations and stuff.
I feel like I'm going to bring textbooks to have for references.
Principle, like all kinds of different
fluid
dynamics type delta
I'm ready to crunch some numbers
with the integral of I over V. Just random stuff.
Calc 4, a little diff EQ. I'll do it. Honestly, all you have to do is get a few buzzwords and drop them in.
That's true.
And you're good.
Yeah. Well, at the very least, he'll be like, does he know what he's talking about?
Then it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
No.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for this episode of the Weatherboys podcast. I am Derek Kevra. That is Alan Longstreet.
Not a bum.
The Weatherboys. See you later.
Great, everybody. My gosh.
Oh, shit. I didn't hit record.
Oh, no. That's a bad joke. Bad joke. Okay. Is that it for now?
Yes. Well, I hit the hardy stop, but it's not stopping.
Yeah, you gotta wait. You gotta leave it.
Really? But usually it turns.